It's wonderful to see you all here today on this beautiful, bright, crisp January morning. My name is Reverend Laura. I'm enjoying it right now. My name is Reverend Laura Hallett, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to our spiritual home. We are an inclusive, loving, open community that sees the divine expression of God in you, and we honor you for your unique expression of it. And so if this is your first time here today, we do have a little gift here that has some information about our center, a magazine that we've been publishing here for a while, and a way that you can connect with us. And so if you're interested in that, raise your hand. We have one over here. Anybody else? Welcome to our center. We're glad to have you. If there's anybody here for the second time, thank you for coming back. I'm glad you found something here that appealed to you and intrigued you enough to come on back and visit us. And for those of you that come here all the time, well, you know how special it is. So great to have you back with us too. So we're going to open it up this morning. We have Cheryl and Alan both here today to give you a fabulous music. I've already listened to it. When we're rehearsing, it's going to be a spectacular day. So let's start with some music. Oh. The words are in your program or on the screen?
I bow to the divine in you. I feel your light, see it shining through. I am grateful you are here today. Good morning, friend, I must stay. I bow to the joy in you. I feel your bliss, see it shining through. I am grateful you are here today. Good morning, friend, I must stay. I bow to the love in you. I feel your heart, see it shining through. I am grateful you are here today. Good morning, friend, I must stay. I bow to the truth in you. I feel your spark, see it shining through. I am grateful you are here today. Good morning, friend, I must stay. Good morning, oh, namaste.
All right, so let's take a moment and stand up and shake a hand and give a hug and make a friend and spend a little time in community.
Always good to see you.
Good night, everybody. All right. Here, sweetie. We're talking about
How are you this morning, my dear?
Jackie, ready? Yeah. Sherry. Yeah. Hello. Hi. How are you?
She's happy to know that she's coming back. Good morning. Good morning. We should have said that. You know what I did yesterday? I went to sign it. I sold it. I didn't drive any place I wanted.
so as we begin this portion of our service, if you take a moment and check your cell phones, and if you're into it, check into Facebook. We are live streaming. Again, this morning we've had a great reception from our live streaming, so we're thrilled to be able to offer that. So check your cell phones and then put them in a silent position as we prepare for our invocation. Alan and Cheryl are going to sing us in, and our invocation is by Anita today.
I know no fear where I may go. I have no doubts, my life is whole. I feel the love of Spirit flowing through my soul. My heart is full, my mind is clear, my life is blessed, all this I know. For deep inside, I believe what I pray. It works for me, it'll work for you. There's just one thing that you must do, is deep inside, believe what you pray.
I invite you now to just take a refreshing breath with me. And as you let it out, feel the peace settle in. Let it settle in deeply. This moment and everything in it is filled with that one Spirit that I call God. It is life itself expressing in so many ways, expressing itself as beauty and joy and love, expressing itself as the beauty of this day, the rain that has refreshed our gorgeous desert. And that one presence expresses itself in amazingly small ways, from every subatomic particle to the vast universe in which we live and beyond. I know that Spirit is more. It is infinite in its expanse. And yet it is personal to me. It lives and moves and expresses itself through me as me. And because I know that for myself, I know that for each person here. Each person who hears these words. Spirit is the expression of that person. So I know that that presence shows up as every wave of thought that crosses my mind. Every spark of energy that fills my cells of my body. Every bit of light that gives me vision, and every sound wave that vibrates in my ears. I know that God is that voice of love that whispers to my soul, be still and know that I am God. And so this morning as we gather here in community, I know that each one of us comes prepared, open, receptive. That inner table has been set for our communion with the God of our understanding. And so I give thanks for this experience. I am so grateful for this spiritual center and all that happens within these walls. And for every person that participates in this service in any way, whether here in person or remotely, I am just so grateful. I know that this day unfolds perfectly according to that perfect blueprint of Spirit. And so I let this be, knowing it is good, it is done. And we say together, and so it is.
I can feel the warming sun. I can see the lovely sky. I can hear the happy birds as they play. I walk my path in faith and know that it's another perfect day. For deep inside I believe what I pray. To work for you, there's just one thing that you must do, is deep inside believe what you pray. It works for me to work for you. There's just one thing that you must do, is deep inside believe what you pray. Deep inside believe what you pray.
Ernest Holmes wrote in The Science of Mind, a unity must be established and a conscious connection must be made before we can derive the benefits which Spirit is willing to reveal or impart in us. And sages and prophets throughout the ages have pondered ways to do this. And this musical exploration was brought by one of those endearing prophets, who is small but powerful and green but lovely, Kermit the Frog. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? But what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought it up, someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? What do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound they will find it. The rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da da dee, da da doo. Da da dee, da da dee, da doo. Good job.
You know, it's one of the coolest things ever to have the meditation and the invocation and all the music go exactly along with what I want to say. It's so cool. Thank you all for the beautiful music. I really appreciate it. Okay, so this month we are going back to the basics. We are looking at our basic principles and practices and seeing how we can use them in our lives by exploring the first 4 chapters of our Science of Mind textbook. Science of Mind is our philosophy. It's what we call our philosophy. It was developed in the 20s and 30s by our founder, Ernest Holmes, in Southern California. And it is a practical science that we can use to affect change in our lives. But it is so much more than that. When we looked at it the first week, we looked at the thing itself. The thing itself is what we call spirit or God or whatever name you prefer to use for it. And then the second week, we looked at what it does. No, I'm sorry, we looked at why it worked. No, I can't remember. I looked at something. I got it in my notes. How it works is next week. I can't remember. Oh well. Anyway, this week we're going to look at what it does. But we're actually going to look at what it really does. Yeah, next week's how to use it. So, what it really does. So because we are a philosophy based on science, and we have scientific methods that we use to demonstrate things in our lives, we often have a tendency to put too much mental thought into this practice. Because it's a philosophy is all about a mental reasoning of things. You know, philosophical people reason things out. They use their mental prowess to figure things out. Scientists use their minds to create things or to prove things, demonstrate things in their lives. And that is a powerful part of our faith and our philosophy. But there's another part to it. And that is that deeper personal connection. You know, Ernest Holmes says that the spirit is universal and it is individual. It is universal in this thing itself, that thing that is all expansive. And it's individual because it's very personal to us. And so developing a personal relationship with spirit is one of the ways that we really begin to put this philosophy into practice. In the chapter, Ernest writes, all invention, art, literature, government, law, and wisdom that has come to the race has been given to it through those who have deeply penetrated the secrets of the nature and the mind of God. Everything that has ever come to us has come through those people who actually figured this out, how it really works. And the one thing that I think is not stressed as much as it has been in my personal experience of it is this other quote from the 3rd chapter, is that we look too far away for reality. Reality with a capital R is synonymous for God. Whenever Ernest capitalizes anything, it's another name for God. It's one of his 88 names of God that I talked about the first week that he uses in the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind. We look too far away from it, for it. So if we're looking too far away, where is it really? Well, it really resides within us. Okay, so how do we get to it? And that's through the deep communion that we do. Developing that personal relationship with the infinite spirit within us. Allowing those things about art, literature, government, wisdom, law, all of those things that he mentioned before, allowing those things to come to us through divine inspiration. We think we have to reason it out. We spend a lot of time with our affirmations and our prayer thinking, am I saying the right thing? Am I getting the right words out? Is this going to be the thing that's going to make it happen in my life? And we spend a lot of time with that. Now there is an aspect of that that is important. It is important to clarify our thinking. But when we spend all of our time on that and worry that if we say that wrong thing, we have to go cancel, 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 or it's going to happen in our lives. I'm sure we've all, I've done it. I know people have done it. It's like, oh, what did I just say? What am I bringing into my experience? But the truth of it is about developing a personal relationship. Last week I gave you the Science of Mind symbol, the creative process, the circle with the V in it. There's some back there if you didn't get one. It's the same thing that's up here on the podium, the circle with the V. Today I want to take this a little bit deeper, with a little bit of a more clarity about this. This actually comes from the work of Thomas Troward. And Thomas Troward was a judge who was born in India. He was English during the colonial periods of English occupation of India. But he was born in India and he became a judge there. And because he was in India, of course, it's a Hindu culture, he studied a lot of Hinduism as part of his experience there. And so there's a lot of Hinduism, a lot of the ideas of Hinduism that come through in our experience. For instance, God is all there is a Hindu idea. And that's one of our core concepts. That it is an allness and a fullness, and that it shows up in many aspects. In Hinduism, they say they have 10,000 gods. Well, it's only one God, but it's 10,000 aspects of that one God. And they all have these different names and characteristics, and people pray to them for different things because they're looking to bring those attributes into their lives. So Ernest Holmes studied Thomas Troward. When Thomas returned to England after he retired from being a judge, he started going around speaking and talking about his philosophy that he had developed. And so this creative process that we use, much of the work of that comes from Thomas Troward. And he was in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s in England as a philosopher there. Some of his books are called The Creative Process in the Individual, the Edinburgh Lectures. We use many of his books in the classes that we teach here. Okay, so this process, remember we talked about involution and evolution. Spirit moving in to form and then spirit evolving back out of form. So we have this process coming down. Now, this is actually called the reciprocal nature of God. The reciprocal nature of God. It's going in and it's coming out. Reciprocity, back and forth. But it's a little different with the work that Troward talks about than what I explained last week. So, I should have printed you out one, but I didn't. I didn't think about it until late. God, on this side over here, like on our left side of our V, God above is the universal giver. And it's always giving consciously. And so what is it giving to us? It's giving to us love. It is giving to us the personal nature of itself. Well, the personal nature of God are all those attributes that we talk about. The nature of God is to be beauty. It is wisdom. It is clarity. It is infinity. It is abundance. It is prosperity. That is the infinite nature of God. So that's the personalness of God. And God is always giving. And what is it giving it to? It's giving it to the individual receiver. That person who is open and receptive to the impress of spirit. And that person only receives it when they are consciously receiving it. When they are consciously receiving it. And what we receive from spirit is spiritual intuition, revelation, inspiration, that aha moment. That's what we're receiving from spirit. And we do that when we commune. When we get ourselves quiet enough that we can hear the voice of spirit. We can get that impress of spirit coming through us. We can get that insight to all of a sudden get up and do the thing that has been revealed to us. We have to get ourselves quiet enough. And we have to do what Emerson says, is get our bloated nothingness out of the way. Get our bloated nothingness out of the way. We have to get our ego out of the way. We have to get that mental activity out of the way to allow spirit to be heard. And that's what we're doing when we're communing with spirit. As the individual, I am receiving divine inspiration. Okay? And then spirit will fill it. Ernest says that spirit is the substance. We create the mold. Now we can create a mold in our mental process. We can say, okay, I want a new house with a red door and 4 bedrooms and yada, yada, yada. And I can list every single thing there. But there is an idea that is already completely formed in the mind of spirit that is better than anything I could probably ever imagine with my own mental faculties. And if I get myself quiet enough and still enough and get my bloated nothingness set out of the way, then I can hear that. It can be revealed to me. And then I can take action upon that. So there's two different things there, that mental process or that spiritual inspiration. Okay, so this is the communing part of spirit. And so once we have received something from spirit then, the process now shifts. And I become the giver, and spirit becomes the receiver. Okay? So the individual giver is consciously giving. I'm consciously giving back to spirit. Okay? When I have received, everything shifts, and I give back. That's this continuous, where the B is curved around here. Remember I said last week, that is the continuity of this process ever and ever happening. And so the universal receiver then is God, and it is consciously receiving. It is an impersonal receiver, and this is what we call the law. This is where now I can take those mental processes, and I can begin to make something occur in my life, change and effect in my life through those mental processes. So if we look at this, this is what we call the command part. If we look at this in relationship to our treatment that we do, when we do our spiritual mind treatment, remember last week I said there are 5 stages. The first stage is recognition. Second stage is unification. When we are doing those 2 stages of spiritual mind treatment, we are communing with spirit. We are communing with spirit. In that first stage, I am consciously bringing to mind, and not even more than mind, bringing it through the depth of my soul. What does God mean to me? What is the personal relationship that I have with God? How can I personally identify it? For me, God is eternal and everlasting. For me, God is that unconditional love, that perfect peace, that power and presence that has brought forth everything into existence. That's a personal feeling that I have within me. That's what I think of when I think of God. And so I'm doing that in recognition. And then in unification, I am saying that everything that God is, I am too. And I'm bringing that into myself personally. And I'm sitting in that atmosphere of thought there, feeling those qualities of God coming forth from me. I am communing with spirit. And the third stage of treatment then is our realization. And that's when we use those affirmations that we have written, we've thought of, these things that we want to do to bring about a change in the condition. And remember, treatment, everything in treatment is done in my own consciousness. It's done in the mind of the person who is doing the treatment. And so I am convincing myself, well, if this is true, then I know this has to be true. If I know that God is all there is, then I know that everything I am is God. Therefore, I know that everything that ever existed is God. And therefore, how can anything be anything but absolutely perfect right now if it is the presence of the One? And so as I'm working through that, I'm now doing that. And I'm saying, okay, so God is this infinite, personal, powerful presence in my life. Therefore, all of my needs are fulfilled right now in spirit. And so I am commanding that. All of my needs now are fulfilled. Because I now am creating that reciprocal nature of God. It has come to me through communion, what God is. I have unified myself with it, and now I'm sending it back up. Well, not really up, but sending it back to spirit. I am sending it back to that divine nature that is going to allow it to now expand. Okay? So, if we go back to the mold thing, in this first part, I received divine inspiration about what that mold is going to be. So whatever that thing is that I want, I'm looking for a feeling, for an experience, for a quality of freedom, of joy, of love, whatever that thing is that I'm wanting. I'm looking for that experience of it in my life. And so I create a mold big enough for God to fill it as much as it can. And God provides the substance to fill it. And that brings it into our experience through that. And so we talk about this, like this is the reciprocal nature of God. And it's the same thing that we're doing here on this creative process that I talked about, moving from spirit through the seed or the soil, or the soil or the soul here into the effect, which I remember we talked about the seed soil effect last week. I'm sorry, the seed soil plant. Spirit, law, body here. It is constantly moving. And this symbol, the way it's displayed right here, can seem misleading. As I said before, I'm not really giving it up to God. I can turn this symbol any direction and it still means the same thing. It doesn't matter. It's not a hierarchy. It isn't God up here, soul here, and body down here. It's all twisted around. You can turn the symbol any direction you want to make it, and it's still the same process moving through. I know sometimes that kind of looks like, oh, wait a minute. Am I talking about a God that's up there? You just told me God's in here. How can God be up there? So it's an understanding of this personal relationship with God that is going to bring about a bigger change in my life. And so how do we begin to do this? How do we begin to actually experience this in our life? Well, we use our practices that we've developed here. We use things like meditation. Meditation is about communing with Spirit. It's about being quiet and listening. You can do any of the thousands of ways of meditation that work for you, as long as you can get to a place of quietness in there. And remember, I've said this before, your mind is not totally quiet all the time. Look for those gaps and begin to expand the gaps. Those gaps are the places where you can hear divine inspiration, where you can feel divine inspiration, where you can see what is being revealed for you to do. In those quiet moments, those little tiny pauses, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever they are, between the thoughts that are moving through your conscious mind. Meditation is about learning how to expand those gaps and find that place of communion with Spirit. We have other practices that'll do that. We have visioning. Visioning is about listening. It is a little more directive in that we are asking specific questions. Now, sometimes the specific questions have already been listed out, like we did when we did the visioning workshop here. We had 5, 6 questions already listed on the paper, and we knew what we were going to ask. And sometimes when I'm engaged in visioning, the questions are also being divinely inspired. And so it's just a matter of practicing listening to Spirit and seeing what's revealed through that. Today, Reverend Colleen is here. She's going to be demonstrating another practice. It's a form of meditation that she and I and our community in Las Vegas have engaged in for the last couple of years that has been very transformative and has let us more consistently listen to Spirit. It's called contemplative meditation, and she'll explain more about that. So that's another practice that you can do. That's a free workshop this afternoon, by the way, anybody that wants to stay. It's from 1 to 2:30 this afternoon. Then we use our other practices like treatment, our affirmations, to begin to use the second side of this, the reciprocal part of it, and command Spirit, to put into law what we want, those things that we think we need to bring in our experience. And again, it's one of those things where if I'm getting this from divine inspiration, then it's more readily, in my experience, it is more readily fulfilled. If I'm getting it from a mental wish list that I've created, that I'm delivering to the Super Santa Claus God in my mind, then it's may be fulfilled, it may not be fulfilled, because I'm not doing it in a conscious spiritual practice. I'm doing it from my bloated ego that needs to get itself out of the way. And so, again, it's about communing with Spirit, listening for that voice of the divine, feeling that presence within you. That's what it really does. That's what it really does, is it creates, based on divine inspiration. We are never, ever in isolation. And so thinking that we have to figure this out for ourselves is an erroneous thought. Relying on Spirit, that's the way to do it. With every question, go within. When I'm faced with challenges, if I am in that place of, that dark night of the soul or anything, I say, well, okay, God, what's here for me to know? What's here for me to know? And then once I get clearer on that, it's like, well, what's my next step? What action do I need to take here? But I'm going first to Spirit. In the Bible it's written, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto thee. Always going back to Spirit first, then all of our needs are fulfilled, in whatever way they need to be fulfilled. Through divine inspiration, through this voice of Spirit coming through us in the quietness and the solitude. If our mind is busy and chattering constantly, we are not allowing space for Spirit to be heard. And so that's why we talk about practices and so much in this center here, because in our experiences, that's what's changed our lives. And the depth of our practice is manifested in itself in our experiences in life. And so the deeper I go, the clearer I become, the more beautiful my life seems to be. And so that's my wish for everyone here at this center, is that we also have that amazing experience of the divine moving through us and manifesting itself in our lives, so that all of our needs are met. Thank you. All right, let's take this into prayer. Helen's got a doodle behind me. So I invite you to get comfortable. Take in a nice deep breath. A deep breath centers us in our bodies, clears away the little bit of the cobwebs that might be hanging on, brings us fully present into this moment, into this perfect now. And so I know that right here and right now there is only one power, one presence, one divine creative source of all. And though it goes by many names and shows up in many ways, I simply know it is God. And I know that God is all there is. That nothing has ever been outside of the one. Nothing has ever existed outside of the presence of God. For God is that original creator that brought forth everything into existence through its own very essence, through its own energy, through its own nature. Through this creative process, God brought forth everything that has ever been, and everything that is yet to be will also be that product of the one. And because I know that God is all there is, I know that I am one with it. I know that the power and the presence of God is right here within me. It is manifesting itself through me, as me, in all that I am and all that I do. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for you also. For each one of us is that divine incarnation of spirit. Each one of us has been brought forth to be that emanation of the one, to do the work of God here on earth. And so in complete realization of the power and the presence of God, manifested as all life, I speak my word. I know that there is only this one that is continuously operating within each of our own experiences. I know that as we become quiet and still, we more clearly hear the voice of the one. We receive that divine inspiration. We are intuitively guided and directed for the next step in our evolution, the evolution of our own individual souls, the evolution of our life here on earth. This is the truth of who we are, and this is why we have come here, to be that divine expression, to allow Spirit to work through us, to simply be receptive to that power and presence, and then sit back and watch what it does in our lives. And what a great experience this is, to see this power and presence manifesting itself in the life of each individual, in the life of this community, in the life of St. George, in the life of everything that ever is. I know that this one is continuously operating and moving itself into expression in greater and greater ways now and always. And I just simply give thanks for this knowing. I'm so grateful to feel it. I'm so grateful to see it expressing itself. And I'm so grateful to know these truths. And I just simply release this word into the law, into the creative mind that always says yes, that knows no limitation, and that acts upon that impress. I simply let it go and let it be. And so it is. So it is.
I choose to set myself free. I choose the light inside me, no matter where I've been. I haven't been here before. This moment is new, and it can wholly restore. I choose the joy that faith brings. I choose to think of good things. It's all in my mind. Each event is first a thought, and the law says yes. So only think the thing you want. I choose to see only love. I choose the life God dreamed of when He created me. To express a soul divine, I will move out of my way and let the Holy Spirit shine. I choose today the sacred union that is mine. I choose the light inside me. I choose to set myself free.
All right. See, another song that matches perfectly. Okay, so this is the time when we share our offerings. In this center, we call this conscious contributions, where we are actively going within and listening to Spirit and see what is revealed for us to give in this moment. And so as you prepare your gift, just take a moment and hold it over your heart and give it a silent blessing. I left mine in my office. And so if you would repeat after me, this gift I give.
This gift I give
Goes forth from me.
goes forth from me,
Does amazing and miraculous things.
does amazing and miraculous things,
And returns to me in kind.
and returns to me in kind,
Pressed down and overflowing.
pressed down and overflowing.
And so it is.
So it is.
Music.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of Spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world.
I am the heart, I am the hand, I am the voice of Spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world.
We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of Spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world.
And how blessed we are. How blessed we are to receive these gifts. How blessed we are to feel this generosity. How blessed we are to know this consciousness is moving through us in the form of offerings and tithes. I'm so grateful to know this. I'm so grateful to receive it. I'm so grateful to see what it does in this amazing community. For I know that these gifts truly are creating a world that works for everyone in all of creation. And for this, I just simply give thanks, and I let it be. And so it is.
You want to affirm these words with us? They're on the board and in your program. We are the heart. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of Spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world, a blessing to the world.
Jerry, can you turn this mic on? It's not on. So hopefully we won't get feedback. All right, I'm going to invite Reverend Colleen Tanaka up here. Reverend Colleen is my dear, dear friend. She lives in Las Vegas with her husband and two beautiful, amazing children. And she and I went to ministerial school together, so we've done everything for the past 8 years together. And so she's my beloved friend, and she is here to offer this workshop today. I'll let her talk about it a little bit.
Hi, I'm so happy to be back here with you again. So this workshop is something that we did at our center in Las Vegas every quarter. The first Sunday of every quarter we did this for a couple of years. And it was a beautiful practice for our community. So the focus really is on contemplative meditation. So when Laura was talking today about communing with Spirit and going within, really the only place that we can ever know God is in our own consciousness. And no one can do that for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And so our time together this afternoon from 1 to 2:30 is going to be talking about contemplative meditation, what it is, how we do it, and the benefits of it. And it's an experiment that if you choose to participate in it, you can experiment for 30 days. We're going to come back together on the 17th of February and share our experience of having done this experiment for 30 days. So it's an experiment that we're doing that will have impact clearly in our individual lives, but also have an impact on this community. And we'll explore more about that in the workshop. But again, it's our experience of God that allows God, Spirit, to work in our lives. And this workshop really is about how do I personally deepen my experience with God and therefore reap all the blessings of that deeper relationship with Spirit. So I hope that we'll see you all here this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Thanks.
Is there a sign-up sheet?
There is not. I run off 40 copies. If there's more than that, then I'll run some more off. But we did allow some time for you to go get something to eat if you wanted real quickly. Although 2:30 is not terribly late in the afternoon either. So service will be over here in about 10 minutes, and so then this workshop will start at 1 o'clock. So you do have a little bit of time if you want to go grab a snack to eat or something like that, and then come on back. So just make sure you come back. We have our Science of Mind discussion groups on Mondays. This is with Gwen and Chris from 4 to 5:30. They've been having a great time. They are calling it, what did she say? And talking about the message from the Sunday before. So, and then whatever else comes up that is related to Science of Mind principles. So hope you consider joining them for that. And then on Wednesdays we have the Book of the Month, the book study from 2:30 to 4. We're finishing up. Well, I guess we're on chapter 3 of Science of Mind. We're following the books of the month that we're using. And so this month we're using the Science of Mind textbook. So we'll be looking at chapter 3 and having a discussion with that. Then we have meditation and more on Wednesday evenings. Last week Chris led us through a fabulous experience of chanting, so that was wonderful. So each week is a different spiritual practice. Right now it's focused mostly on meditation. I don't know, that's what the and more is about. I don't know what will happen, so we'll see. I'm letting Spirit lead. And then this is the last week you can sign up for our visioning class. It starts this Thursday. It's an 8-week class. It is a certificated class that has a prerequisite. You have to have taken our foundations class or Beyond Limits. I've had people ask about foundations. That is starting, did I make a slide? I didn't make a slide. That's starting February 19th, I think. It's a Tuesday, whatever that Tuesday is in February.
That's the 19th.
It's the 19th, thank you. And it's a 10-week class. That's our beginning class. It talks about our basic principles and practices. There's still a little bit of time to sign up for the women's retreat. If you're interested in that, you can come and talk to me about it. There is a sign on the table back there with a little more information. I'll be facilitating that at the Majestic View Lodge in Zion, Springdale, along with your friends of mine, Reverend Dr. Melissa Felipe and Reverend Z.A. Klopp. They will be here with us for a couple of weeks then. And my office hours, the little change from, I told you this last week, but I'm doing 4 hours, 3 days a week now instead of 2 hours, or 6 hours, 2 days a week. So 1 to 5. I have a sign-up sheet back there for the next 6 weeks if you'd like to schedule some time. It's a little more convenient if you schedule. If you don't schedule, you might have to wait if I have somebody else already in there. So, but you're welcome to come in. I'm here and available for anything. If you want to just come and talk about what's happening in your life, or you'd like to know more about these principles, practices, you want to tell me something that's happening at the center, you're welcome to come in and just chat. I enjoy the time. So. All right, so after service we have our bookstore open. Over here, those of you that got the new member packet, there's a gift in there for you for the bookstore, so make sure you use that. Anita is available for prayer. Are you going to be doing it in here? Mm-hmm. Okay, so she'll be here in the practitioner's office right here. with personal prayer. If you'd like to experience a personal, short spiritual mind treatment on some kind of an issue that may be going on in your life or something you want to continue, you got good going, let's keep it going. So see Anita after service. And then I believe we have goodies back there. I know I had a donut earlier, so there's all kinds of goodies back there and coffee. So hope you stay around and have a little fellowship. And don't forget to come back for the workshop. So, all right, we are going to stand up, do our affirmation, and then we were going to sing it out. Okay. All right. Got a moment here. You can give hands. Okay, there we go. Ready? Would you repeat after me, please? Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind.
Life is in my mind.
Life is in my body.
Life is in my body.
Life is in my consciousness.
Life is in my consciousness.
I am it.
I am it.
I embrace it.
I embrace it.
I receive it.
I receive it.
Just the way that it is.
Just the way that it is.
And just the way that it's becoming.
And just the way that it is becoming.
Thank you, life.
Thank you, life.
So it is.
So it is.
All right. Sing our closing song.
It's a new day, today it's a new life, my way. The doubts, they are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. The past is gone, it has no power here. I'm a mighty force in spirit's atmosphere. So I choose to grow, yes I choose to thrive. This longing will not be denied. It's a new day, today it's a new life, my way. The doubts, they are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. Right here, right now, I claim that I am whole. There is nothing else that I need to know. So I affirm my word, yes, I'm deserving of God's goodness abounding in love. It's a new day, today it's a new life, my way. The doubts, they are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. As I